communicate with the president using the medium that I saw him communicate in.
But he never spoke with the...
Oh, hi. Just came from downstairs where we have our accountants at the Majority Report. And they were telling me what the situation is with YouTube. And we wanted to update you as to why we still need your support on our Patreon page. And that's because some of you are seeing ads in front of our YouTube videos. And it's true. Some of them have come back. As you know, back in March now, I guess, or April, our ad placement was completely wiped out. We had basically 10% of our views were getting ads, whereas it used to be in March, in February, and January, closer to 65 to 75% of our views were getting ads. Well, some of those ads have come back, and it's true of some other channels as well, but not nearly as many as we had before. And on top of that, the type of ads that we're getting have a much lower CPM. So in other words, we're getting less ads on our videos, and the ads we are getting, we're getting less money for. And that's why we're continuing our Patreon account. We don't know if this is the new normal. And frankly, YouTube is not inclined to tell us. We're not the biggest channel. I don't even know if the biggest channels are being told as to what the new normal is, but this appears to be it. So where we got $1 3 months ago, we're now getting about 40 cents. That's better than getting a dime, but we are still needing your support. So you can head over to our Patreon channel, or maybe you're at our Patreon page rather now, but either way, give a couple of bucks a month, and that would really help us continue producing as many videos as we do on a daily basis. And we want to produce more, frankly. We were geared up to do so, and then, well, so now it's not necessarily an ad apocalypse. It's more of like an ad sort of apocalypse. Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, July 7th, 2017. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 4-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. It's Casual Friday, folks. And as we do on most Casual Fridays, Cliff Schecter will saunter onto the program. And then, following Cliff Schecter, we will get the D-Man report from the A-Man, Andy Kindler himself. Also on the program today, in Hamburg, Germany, Trump genuflex. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Mitch McConnell in retreat. That's a question mark. The U.S. ethics chief, however, definitely resigns. And the Muslim travel ban about to be put into effect. Judge in Hawaii allows for no further exemptions. France announces that it will ban all gas vehicles by 2040. Meanwhile, Volvo to go mostly electric by 2019. And somebody is shopping Russian rat FARC documents. It's according to Rachel Maddow, and the documents are sort of fascinating. The timeline is very odd. And lastly, the Republicans investing in healthcare stocks on the verge of repeal and doing quite well. They're so smart. So smart when it comes to the things about the stock market. All this and more on today's Majority Report program, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, joining me in studio today, Michael Brooks, Matt Leck, Kelly Carey, as we wait for another Friday to come and go, ladies and gentlemen, in the era of Donald Trump. He's in Germany now for the G20 summit. The world's leaders, of course, completely focused on John Podesta and the DNC servers, as everyone would expect one would be if one was totally sane and also not trying to run or hide from some other narrative.
Oh, sorry. I'm just thinking of Xi's like translator, you know, like the translators have like very formal English, and they're just like, also President Xi raises that he is very concerned that John Podesta did not release transcript to FBI and CIA. What does Clinton campaign have to hide? And are they still trying to undermine you with CNN in a very horrible and sad display that is sick and ruining your presidency? President Xi would like to know this.
The question is, though, I mean, you're conflating a lot of different things, Michael, but the question is does the agenda of the G20 summit look more or less like, number one, DNC servers, number two, CNN, number three, NBC, number four, Katie Tur, number five.
President Xi also said Katie Tur is a very hateful and so-called journalist. Fake journalist. She is a fake journalist. Actually, this is the best strategy for everybody moving forward. You just have a meeting with him. Got a lot to get to. Things I want you to do on North Korea. First, before we get to North Korea, President Xi would like to say CNN is sick and disgusting. Russia, big nothing burger. All right, you guys do whatever you want.
Exactly.
I agree. Can we release a joint communique on that?
Do you guys want our aircraft carriers?
Yeah, would you guys, maybe we could solve the Gulf crisis. Would you guys just like our base in Qatar or whatever it is? That could be great.
All I need is one big hotel. So Trump is there, and there's images now of him shaking hands with Vladimir Putin. And, of course, look, it is the thing, the quintessential, I think, reality of living in the Trump era is that you are sucked in to a vortex of the most meaningless stuff suddenly having to have meaning. And the idea that there would be a nation so wrapped in attention as to the times where they shake hands is just, this country, we didn't start off on such a pinnacle, I think, if we really were to look at this with clear eyes. But we, from wherever our baseline was 8 months ago, we have dropped so significantly. Like the entire country has become more dumb, more petty. And those are actually probably the better attributes that have happened over the past 7 months. It gets worse from there. But here is images of Donald Trump sort of awkwardly shaking Vladimir Putin's hand, in fact, his whole arm, doing the old, I'm hugging you, I'm almost bro-hugging you by grabbing your elbow. And then there's another one where he seems to be not only tapping Putin on the back, but rubbing his back. And Putin sort of is having a little, now maybe Trump is psyching Putin. I have no idea. I don't even know what, I mean, who knows?
I have killed men for touching me less.
He's playing
Maybe
three
should step
dimensional
away.
chess. That's what he's doing right now.
Please just don't release the P tape. Please, I'm begging you. Please. All right, go ahead. Play this. There he is.
There you go.
Oh, there you
okay?
go.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
Take
go.
a moment to look.
Yep, there you go. They all shook hands. Yes. And there's the
All right.
back rub. That's
Ron
the weird
Brownstein,
part.
Somewhere,
Can you see it?
Allison Camerata is begging for a body language expert.
Yeah.
There
Is
you
not
go.
doing enough of that. So he gave him the shake.
There you go. I mean, there it is. And well, you got to talk into the microphone.
His body's disconnected from his whole, like his arm is like in the distance, but he's still.
There was a quality
that
to
is
that
so
of,
physically bizarre.
I can only speak for myself, but being in like 5th or 6th grade and, having a girlfriend and, the big sort of thing is like,
a stable mate.
right, like just sort of like putting your arm uncomfortably on their outside shoulder or something, like just sort of not sure what happens next.
It's
and
very space.
very, very uncomfortable for everybody involved. But we're going to go talk to Cliff Schecter about what's happening in terms of healthcare. This is going to start to heat up in the next couple of days when we return after the weekend. And a couple other stories I've noticed that indicate there's some concern within the Democratic Party that maybe the left is a little bit out ahead of where the rest of the party should be relative to 2018 and even 2020. Just a reminder, however, that podcastawards.com has opened up for nominations. You can go to podcastawards.com and nominate this program for Best News in Politics and People's Choice. We would be a 5-time award winner. And then I think we would just probably all resign and go home. So there you go. We are done 5 times and out. But head over there and nominate us. Also, if you enjoy this program and would like to support it in some fashion, become a member today. You can join the Majority Report by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. It is your membership that makes the free show possible. And even if you're just like a Friday listener, because I know we have some of those, you're talking about price of an iced coffee, which is, at least, even at the bodega here, it's like $2.75. Less than 1 iced coffee a week to support this program, keep it chugging along, and then you get a chance. If you want to dip into the fun half on other days, you can do that. JoinTheMajorityReport.com. We're going to take a quick break. Back with Cliff Schecter.
You always step to my girl. Way back, I used to front like Angle at Mechanicsburg, Anchorage, Dar es Salaam. Well, home in New York with champagne and disco, tapes from LA/San Francisco, but actually Oakland and out Alameda. Your girl was in Berkeley with a communist reader. Mine was in tune with a boombox and Walkman. I was a horrible girl, that was back then. Gloves are off, the wisdom teeth are out. What you on about? I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. I'm stronger now. I'm ready for the high. Such a modest monk. I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. Every time I see you in the world, you always step to my girl.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, even with the president out of the country in Germany, genuflecting to Vladimir Putin, even then, we can remain calm and casual only because we have this little touchstone, this little ditty to bring us back to calm and casual. I lost it. Okay, go.
Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC.
ya public relations and strategy. You want any of these services, you know who you gotta see. Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC.
Yes, Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC. Cliff, it's been, wait, were we here last week? I can't even remember now.
That was when I was in the office. But
oh,
yes,
of course.
In the studio, I mean, but it does seem like lots has happened.
It
well,
does.
Maybe not. I don't know. I've lost track of everything.
Maybe it was because it was July 4th. And, of course, Donald Trump, I guess Donald Trump was out of the news for probably as long as he's been in 7 months just because of Chris Christie. I forgot, like that even happened.
That was beautiful.
All right, but the big story, of course, is that Republicans went back to their districts. Most of them did not have town hall meetings. Most of them avoided interaction with their constituents to the extent that they could because of this health care bill. And now we're coming back to this narrative of it looks like Mitch McConnell is in retreat. And I want your take on this because I am highly skeptical. But let's hear what your perspective is.
I mean, Mitch McConnell's in retreat. I never believe any of that stuff. First of all, everything that's reported there, there's some honest accounts. A lot of it's just people leaking to get their perspective across. So I'm always skeptical. I am of the camp that it's going to be, it's a tougher bill to pass than I think you think it is. I think you kind of think it's a done deal. I don't think that. I still think it could go either way. And I do think with some of these guys coming home, they just locked Rob Portman out of his office, basically did a sit down in his office and they couldn't get people out. I do think the calls, I do think them showing up. They tried to actually, override Kasich's veto to freeze our Medicaid, which I assume they did that to make it easier for Rob Portman to vote against it, right? Because then he's not getting rid of anything. They don't have it, but they couldn't override it. So the Republicans, the state house, for example, here could not get the votes they needed to do what they need to do. So it's not to say that this is still in a lot of danger. I think it is, and people don't need to be calling a lot. But I do believe that you've got someone like a Dean Heller sitting there looking at things and saying, there's no chance I win in 2018. Already he's in deep whatever if I vote for this. And you get some of your folks like Ted Cruz, who I almost think doesn't want to vote for it from the right. So, we talked about that last week and then can pretend, then he can say, I didn't take away people's health care.
Right.
And he's up in 18 and he's got a serious race in a state trending away from him. And frankly, he has to win among humans, of which he doesn't come off as one, which makes it more challenging too. So I don't think it's a done deal. I certainly think moderates have proven again and again to be some of the wimpiest characters, Republican moderates in the world. But I do think that there's a good half dozen to a dozen. The ones who are just doing it because they care, or sort of care, I'm not sure what the right thing is, and they didn't want to really hurt their constituents, but aren't in political peril really. If they do, I don't trust those votes at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a Capito and Cassidy and people like that who are in very conservative states. I think they'll all come around. But I do question if Susan Collins is going to run for governor of Maine in 18, with Heller needing to win re-election, Flake needing to win re-election, Cruz needing to win re-election, Gardner up in 20 in a Democratic presidential year in a state trending away from him, or not, but in a presidential year. I don't know.
Well, Cruz
folks to get.
Cruz has started floating this idea. Here's why I'm still thinking they're going to pass this. Now, I done deal may be overstating it a little bit, but I still think it's like a 70-30. And there was a story out yesterday in the Washington Post that McConnell's was at a Rotary Club lunch in Glasgow, Kentucky. and said that if my side is unable to agree on an adequate replacement, then some kind of action with regard to the private health insurance must occur. No action is not an alternative. We've got insurance markets imploding all over the country, including this state. He said they're going to have to work with Democrats. Now, he said this before. When he says this, it does not, I mean, it seems to me that if he thought this was not going to happen, he would not be saying, I'm going to work with Democrats, right? Because he's going to have to if he thought it wasn't going to happen, and it would put him in a weak position. I think he's saying this because this is basically a threat to those people who are not going to vote. You're going to have to go back to your lunatic Republican voters who are just like my lunatic Republican voters, and you're going to have to say that you're going to have to work with Democrats on saving Obamacare. I mean, that to me is like most of these people saying, I'm going to now perform an abortion. I mean, honestly, like I don't think there's anything more allergic that they could be allergic, their voters could be allergic to. Now, Ted Cruz is floating this idea, if we don't pass a bill, we're going to vote for just repeal, which is probably what he would do, right? And the repeal would be punted. And that's sort of the scenario that I thought initially they would do. We're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to then replace it 2 years from now, past the 2018 election. Right. That was their original plan until Donald Trump came out and said, we're going to pass it and we could put in a new one, replace like maybe right at that time, maybe a day later, a week later. And that screwed everything up for everybody, it seems to me. But I mean, I saw, like, for instance, and let me tell you another reason why I'm skeptical. And I just found this sort of weird. I saw a headline on CNN. Senator John Hoeven from North Dakota, Matt's favorite senator in the country.
Really?
Well, it's his senator.
I spend the most time on his social media pages.
Yeah. Matt spends a lot of time on his Facebook page.
Saying hello.
CNN said, touted it as if Hoeven is against the bill. And really what it really turns out is Hoeven, he said, Hoeven himself said, and this is when you go to the, what is this paper? The
Bismarck Tribune?
Yeah, the Bismarck Tribune. If you go directly to the Bismarck Tribune, what Hoeven says is this. Hoeven himself said, quote, he doesn't support the bill as it stands. Right? Now, of course he doesn't support it.
They could stand differently. They could change like one little thing.
Of course. This is just
I don't trust any of the reporting. I'm coming to my conclusions based on trying to do my own analysis of where these guys' political vulnerabilities are. And of course, taking them all, not anything close to their word, assuming that the most cynical characters in the world, which most of them are, and it will come down to a pure vote of what benefits me more politically or what hurts me less, probably is the better question. And someone like Hoeven, absolutely not. And that's why I think in the end, Cassidy, he can win, maybe Mitch Landrieu, who's been getting a lot of headlines as mayor of Louisiana. But I even think with the name Landrieu, it's very tough for a Democrat to win Louisiana these days. So I think some of those states, I fully expect them to jump on board, no matter how much it hurts their constituents, because I don't think in the end that's their biggest concern. But in the ones where it really could cause these guys to lose, the ones who seem to want to stick around in politics, in the end, that may be the factor that keeps them from doing it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, that's an analysis of mine. I'm not taking anything the news media is saying at face value, and I'm still assuming that we're in a 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if I'm one of those senators and I'm the one of 2 or 3 who prevented Obamacare from being repealed, I got to think like automatic primary loss for me. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, that's potentially true.
And so I don't know. I mean,
well,
I guess
they have to weigh all that stuff because you're right. Because for some of them, for like a Ted Cruz, the example might be as bad as it may be, as tough a race as he might have with Beto O'Rourke in Texas, he may get a primary from the right, which is hilarious.
Yes.
It's hard to get much further to the right than Ted Cruz. But yeah, so that consideration may come in. But for others, if you're in, let's say, Maine, or you're in Nevada or Colorado, you need to figure out where the bigger threat comes from. Does it come in the primary, or does it come in the general? And I guess it's really going to be whatever conclusion they come to on that stuff. And so that's why I'm saying I can still see them jumping off, because they're scared they're going to lose. But as you said, I can also see them getting McConnell's assurances. They'll have all the business money they want, getting the Koch brother assurances and all that stuff, and saying, well, I'm just going to have to battle my way through a general election and somehow keep people aboard by spending gobs of money and outspending my opponent. I'm going to need to pull all this off,
Now,
and of course, I'll have the Russians on my side. So there's that too.
Let's turn to the Democrats for a moment, because there's been an interesting sort of rash this week of. I mean, I remember. I'm trying to think what the topic was, but I remember Mark Green, who was one of the people who was I don't know what his job was at Air America. He was the president. At one point, he was sort of the fake owner. No, he thought it was to sit in a corner office, and
I'm so bad. I love getting used to
he was a Clinton surrogate in 2008, and at one point he approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to write an op-ed about something that was favorable to Clinton?" For the life of me, I cannot remember what it was, and I was like, "No," because I didn't buy into the op-ed, and I never wanted to do anything for this guy. And the interesting thing was, like 2 days later, that exact op-ed shows up. I don't know if it was in the Washington Post or where, by Lanny Davis. And that's who they went to. That was the only person they could find to do it.
You can't get anybody to do it.
What I gathered from that is that word gets spread out in some fashion. We want this narrative this week to show up in the media. And it seems to me that this week there was a narrative that showed up in the media. We saw...
And the right's much better at this, too, than we are.
Oh, much better. I mean, it's so naked. But the narrative that I saw was Mark Penn coming out and writing a piece about going back to the center. There was a piece by John...
Have I told any of you recently what a piece of shit that guy was to work for?
No, but I'm willing to hear it again. But John
Someday we have to go into that again. My first big political job at Penn and Schoen back in '96. Go ahead.
Well, John Harwood wrote a piece about the voter study group. And with, I think Axelrod had a quote in there. I mean, these are stories that are pushed. I mean, this is what comms people do. They push stories. And so you see all these things showing up this week. It was interesting because, and then there was like some, I guess you could call it pushback from Matt Iglesias, if you will, saying that, Bernie Sanders is clearly the favorite in 2020. But there's just a sense out there, it seems to me. And then you also had this week where you had the For the Win people, some tech billionaires who can't figure out how to influence politics other than with billboards in D.C. that are crowdsourced. All of this shows up in 1 week, and it suggests to me that there was some moneyed interest somewhere that said, hey, we got a problem. We're sort of losing in at least the expectations. We're losing somewhere. I want this narrative to get out there. What's your perspective?
I mean, it's pretty much the same as yours. Look, all these guys are also tied to I mean, you bring up Mark Penn. I mean, the DLC went goodbye, but I'm sure he must be tied to Third Way. I'm sure still he used to be. One of these places, it takes in big money from people that push, the whole centrist-decentrist idea. So I have no doubt that these guys they got their marching orders. Harwood is someone who seems pretty intellectually honest to me.
Well,
so I don't put him.
He's
in
a
that
reporter
category.
who got pushed the story. That's what it seems to me.
Right, and did I think he does a generally good objective job. But yeah, I think that there's no doubt that some of that narrative they decided we need to disseminate via various media and by people who will get everyone to talk. I mean, again, your analysis, I guess, is what I'm saying is exactly right, because you see this a lot, and you know that it's not just by accident. And if you've been in those rooms before or seen the way that stuff works, of course they're doing it. The question is, are they? What do you think they're laying the ground for?
I mean, I'm not sure. I guess that's my question to you. I mean, I think clearly there is concern that some of these sort of it's right now is where I think you start to see the sort of the building of people's campaigns for 2020, right? I mean, you have people who are visiting different states around the country. You're hearing names, bandied around. Everybody's putting up trial balloons. You just keep seeing all these quotes about Kamala Harris here, then you have like Cory Booker's, the story of Cory Booker's fake drug dealer friend, crops back up. I mean, it's all bubbling up now, and it's interesting to watch what Bernie is doing, because Bernie this week basically, I mean, I don't want to say he tacked to the right, but earlier this week,
he moved a little bit to the center on some stuff too. I was a bit surprised by that.
He basically just said there's interim steps to where I want to get.
Right.
And
he basically stayed on the left in single payer, which I think is getting to be a pretty consensus Democratic Party position at this point. But on some of the other things he talked about during the campaign, like a fracking ban and some other things, he moved a little bit more towards a gradual position as opposed to right away. I think that was one of the issues, and there are a few others. I think some of it is just that, Sam, is people are positioning themselves, right? But I think, it's hard to think, and maybe we need to do more of what's coming up and what they may be trying to sort of preempt in certain ways, because I have a hard time believing that the sort of the Mark Penn op-eds and stuff are about trying to convince Democrats to back off on Obamacare. That's one thing every Democrat's united on.
Right. And
standing up to Trump is very good, no matter if you're progressive, centrist, or whatever the hell you are. So I have that one, so that's a little harder to read. But the question is, do we have economic votes coming up around some of the they've already taken, I guess, one. I don't know where we are at this point on some of the pushback or rollback of Dodd-Frank. What else do we have coming where the whole you need to move to the center thing might be a preemptive strike to get them to do that? That's the question.
It's very strange. I saw Tammy Baldwin on Hayes' program, I think it was last night, and he was asking her essentially to criticize Ron Johnson. She would not. It was very odd. I mean, meanwhile, she just, like yesterday came out for a single payer, but she kept saying, I want to work together. I mean, it's hard to figure out what is going on here, because she's saying, like, I want to work together with a bipartisan, policy-oriented response to healthcare. That to me sounds as much like a threat on some level as Mitch McConnell's does, which is like,
Yeah.
I mean, is there a greater failure by Republicans than having to work with Democrats? They didn't have to. They refused to do it when they were in the minority.
And they spent all this time basically saying the Democrats are akin to Satan. So it's sort of like when they make promises for certain legislation forever, and then can't live up to it. Of course, they end up hurting themselves and end up having finally people. At least some people see past the facade. It's the same thing here. I mean, you can't tell people that the other side's evil forever and then be like, all right, well, now we want to work with that. They're evil, right?
Sort of in a box a little bit. And I think, look, the bottom line is also Republican voters, just when you poll them, they don't want compromise. And that's the sort of, the box, I guess, that they're in. But all right, let's turn. I mean, we're going to have a better sense when everybody returns back to DC and you start to get like a clearer sense of where everyone is on this thing, because I think this vote is going to be so defining in terms of what's going to happen between now and 2018, right? Because nothing gets easier from here, it seems to me, for the Republicans. But
no, I mean, I'm not sure where it does. They're dealing with increasingly, as you were saying about the lack of compromise, their base is alienated and off away from really almost, not maybe it's not 3/4, 2/3 of the electorate, and not willing to move forward on anything. Any compromise is considered to be treason. So I'm not really sure what they can get done, because the same dynamic that plays out around debt ceiling votes, and it's played out with the Obamacare bill in the end, that's made this so difficult. You're going to have moderates or people who are even mainstream conservatives who don't want to lose, who aren't going to want to do what the nuts are going to do, and the nuts are going to refuse to even compromise in the slightest. So I don't see where this moves forward.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know where you get your tax cuts and your increase in military spending either. I mean, it's not like that's going to be any easier to wrangle if they can't get a win here, right? Like these things have that sort of like quality of I think what Sam Stein called a jailbreak. Once they see some of their fellow senators and House people bucking the leadership, it becomes easier for all of them to do it, and more of an incentive, frankly, to do it. So I don't know. I guess we'll see on that. The other big story this week, which garnered virtually no attention, was that the ethics the office of director, the ethics office director Walter Schaub resigned. Here, let's listen to this. This is him explaining why on CBS News.
For president, his attorney also said he couldn't sell off his assets because he'd lose money.
I have no sympathy for that. I mean, he's in a position where he's going to have to send young men and women to die in combat, potentially, or risk their lives at least. They're paying a much higher price. So no, it's not too much to ask for somebody to incur a bit of a financial loss if they have to sell things off.
Schaub.
So wait, that's Schaub just explaining why he
needs to divest from things.
Yeah, why Trump needed to divest. And of course, he has resigned now with basically saying like, yeah, the current situation, this is what he said on NPR, the current situation has made it clear that the ethics program needs to be stronger than it is. And he's talking about moving on to the campaign legal center. I'll have more freedom to push for reform. I'll also be broadening my focus to include ethics issues at all levels of government. So the current situation, he's referring to the Trump administration.
The joke. I mean, yeah, he's referring to the ridiculous situation where there are ethical concerns are not even like a third or fifth or 50th concern. They don't actually exist in this administration. So I read something else also where he was saying, I wouldn't sit around and allow any business to do this. So how could I allow them to, or something like that. I mean, we've seen this from the beginning. It's not whether there are ethical concerns or not. They've completely ignored that part of what every other president, at least in recent history, has done. I mean, he refused to release his tax returns. He refused to divest from parts of his company. He turned it over to Beavis and Butthead there, who end up being involved in policy anyhow. Kushner's done the same thing. Kushner's out there selling Chinese visas. I mean, it doesn't exist. So for someone like him, what was the point in staying? You only sully your reputation.
And here is the other, I think, sort of problem with this. We're done with the ethical standards that we had prior to this, which may or may not have been, so great. But we're done even paying lip service to this. This is basically, this becomes the precedent. No one's going to be replaced to this office. This is going to be the precedent. Whoever is going to be president in 2020, regardless of who it is not going to impose more restrictions on them. Just politicians don't do that. And So it's another sort of baseline that has just dropped.
This norm is now gone.
We will never recover from this. And it is, because people can go check their news feeds right now. You can barely find this. It happened a day or two ago, and there's nothing in the news about it anymore. It's gone.
It's going to be completely acceptable to profit from your time in office.
And this is just another standard that we won't recover from. And
of course, it's not just that. It's not just the profiting from your office. It's the massive conflicts of interest that end up, where you're trading U.S. security, as certain people seem to have, for whatever it might be that where you can benefit financially. I don't know. I mean, again, I could see us having a revival of sorts if the right person came into office and reinstituting all these norms. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not likely, and it would be very difficult, and it'll probably be a while before it happens. And I mean, it's just it's a failure on such a basic level. And in the end, as you said, we can't even report it because there's too much other stuff. I mean, Trump just got out of his 2.5-hour love fest with Putin. There's so much other stuff going on out there that this ends up being overlooked.
All right. Well, let's talk about one more story too, because this one, you had flagged that, and I know how much you spend so much of your time shopping at Hobby Lobby for your crafts gear.
It's such a nice store.
So everybody remember.
I also find that Jesus watches over me when I shop there, and I appreciate that.
Hobby Lobby was the company that went to was the plaintiff in the Supreme Court case, which was about the Affordable Care Act, saying that employers had to offer insurance that had birth control. And because this is a so-called closely held company, this
a made-up term.
Right. This company, because its owners are serious, I guess, fundamental Christians, they have a problem with birth control, and they didn't want health insurance that they offered, even though it didn't affect their price at all, that they had to pay for it. They didn't want that health insurance to offer birth control. And so the Supreme Court made an exception in that case, Burwell versus Hobby Lobby. Now, apparently, the Greens, this is the Green family, they're evangelical Christians. They also sit on the board of the Museum of the Bible, which is opening in Washington, D.C. this fall. And apparently, if you're going to open up a museum about the Bible, you want to get some of that stuff from Adam and Eve.
Some biblical stuff there.
Yeah. And it turns out that the way that you do that is you pay smugglers money for stuff that they have stolen and smuggled out of Iraq. Now, who might that be? Who might be one of the biggest sellers of artifacts coming out of Iraq at this time?
I'm just trying to use common sense here. It'd almost be like a mobster type group that has complete control. People are scared of. They run certain territories. I feel like it could be ISIS, for example.
A lot of people speculate that. Not speculate. A lot of people know that ISIS made a lot of its money selling oil and artifacts from what is considered the cradle of civilization, right?
So these Christian right, the usual complete hypocrites, cannot pay for birth control, but they can steal artifacts and use that to make sure ISIS stays in business.
And here's
quite a group we have there.
And they've had to pay a $3 million fine and obviously give up the ownership of this stuff. But here's the part apparently of the story that makes it very hard for them to say we had no idea what we were buying, because Hobby Lobby wired $1.6 million to seven different bank accounts associated with 5 different people to pay for the items. They were shipped to the United States in multiple packages, falsely labeled tiles sample. They were also sent to multiple locations. Now, I don't know in the craft business if this is what you do when you order stuff. We're just going to spread it out all around the country so that we don't have to pick it up in one location.
Right. Multiple accounts, fake labeling of it. Yeah, it sounds very above board. It sounds like they totally had no idea. Just an honest transaction gone wrong.
3,400, over 3,400 objects.
Right, and they get, what, $3 million fine? They should go to prison for that kind of mass theft. Also, maybe, helping the enemy.
You know what I love about this? This is what, because it's Hobby Lobby. The company did this, right? So it's a closely held company when you don't want to provide birth control to your employees. But when it comes time to committing a criminal act, it was the company did it, not us.
There's no justice and truth out there anymore, Sam. It's incredible.
Well,
I'm ready to give up.
Well,
no, I mean, I'm not surprised, or any of us ever, when it's proven that the avatars of the Christian right are always ending up in relationships outside of their marriages and stealing things, and the whole belief system is authoritarian, which is you are privileged and can do what you want because you've found God. And you can find a way to justify all of it, but it's everybody else who the rules are for. It's all the rest of us. We follow the rules.
Was just they just did that episode on Handmaid's Tale last night, so that I watched. Yeah. Well,
so I think from now on we can legitimately say from now on that Hobby Lobby supports Sharia law.
Well, at least materially.
I'd like to say that in Oklahoma just to freak people out.
Yeah, indeed.
See how they respond.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of protests. Dave Rubin will be down there broadcasting in front of a Hobby Lobby soon.
Good luck on the Bible Museum. Good job, guys.
All right. Well, Cliff, I hope your spirits...
You should go down there and do your act, Sam.
I should go down there.
We should go down there. We should go down there dressed as ISIS operatives to congratulate them and do a ribbon cutting with them. That's what we really should do. We should get them like turbans and fake beards and like, we'd just like to say that this was a lot of work that went into this, and it's always good when a project comes to fruition.
You know what that might do too, Sam? It might help you rebound from your status as a failed comedian.
Oh, well, nice. Ooh, Cliff Schecter.
Nothing could do that. He's a goddamn shield. Hey. Real comedians speak truth to power, not lies for MSNBC.
Cliffy, we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, take care. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Cliff Schecter, everyone. Cliff Schecter. While we're on the whole evangelical Christian thing, many years ago, I believe, and I think actually, I should have talked to Cliff about this because he's been down to this Creationist Museum. I think he even called into this show early on from the Creationist Museum. And back when they were just planning this thing in the aughts, I called and got into it with somebody from the Creationist Museum. I think I have that phone call somewhere, and maybe longtime listeners of the original Majority Report remember that. Well, it turns out that Ken Ham, the creationist who built the Ark Encounter project, which is the sort of the sister program, if you will, or the brother, I guess, program to the Creationist Museum, is blaming now intolerant atheists for the failure of the Ark Encounter project from providing for there's pictures of it, of providing for the economic tax-based revenue driving and economic activity that they said it was. Ken Ham said, it's the intolerant atheists are mocking the return on the investment taxpayers have received. Quote, sadly, they are influencing business investors and others in such a negative way that they may prevent Grant County, Kentucky from achieving the economic recovery that its officials and residents have been seeking, said Ken Ham. He, of course, is the president of Answers in Genesis. Why so many lies and misinformation? Simply because we are in a spiritual battle, and intolerant secularists are so upset with such world-class attraction like the Ark and Creation Museum that publicly proclaim a Christian message. They will resort to whatever tactics they deem necessary to try and malign the attractions. Grant County Judge Executive Steve Wood told the local station WKYT, I think the Ark's done well. Then he laughed. And I'm glad for them on that, but it's not done us good at all.
If you believe in your theories so much, then why do you have to be so fucking arrogant?
Apparently, the millions of dollars of local business has not...
Millions of dollars?
Yes. Well, because they got a huge...
They literally predicted millions of dollars.
Of local business drop, because there was
like
all
the
sorts
of creationism.
Well, there was a ton of taxpayer subsidies for this thing. It got $18 million in state tax incentives to offset the cost of the park's construction. It got a 75% property tax break over 30 years from the city of Williamstown. This is a town of 3,000 near where the park was located, and an $11 million road upgrade that would almost exclusively facilitate traffic going to and from the park. And then there was like a $200,000 gift from the Grant County Industrial Development Authority, 100 acres of reduced price land, and a $62 million municipal bond issue that... from Williamstown, that Ham says kept the project from, you ready for this? Sinking.
Well, I'm not going to mock his intelligence anymore at all.
So there you have it.
Very savvy guy.
If we convert that into a yacht, I might let you slap my name on it.
How awesome would that be?
A yacht.
Trump's Ark.
Trump's Ark.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. And what's that? Oh, do we have a Jimmy Reefer Cake song?
Yes, it's called Governor Cocksucker.
Okay. I hope there's a twist to this. All right, let's hear it, and then I'll go get Andy Kindler.
This is a good team. This is Governor Paul Richard LePage. I would like to talk to you about your comments about my being a racist, you cocksucker. And I want to talk to you. I want you to prove that I'm a racist. I've spent my life helping black people, and you little son of a bitch, socialist cocksucker, I need you to, I want you to record this and make it public because I'm after you. Thank you.
That's Paul LePage. Unedited. Message as he intended it. We shoved ranked choice voting, legal weed, and minimum wage down your throat, Polly. So hard you've been having erotic nightmares. And the people of Maine voted to tax the rich to pay for our schools because we thought it was fair. You think you're politically incorrect? Well, you're messing with the wrong guy. You're gonna wake up crying cause you're dreaming you got jizz in your eye. Even though you overturn the fact that we voted to tax the rich. On those other three issues, the people of Maine made you look like a bitch. You played your game of chicken government shutdown, threatening special needs kids. You just look like a clown. Oh, Governor Cocksucker, Governor Cocksucker, you got it shoved down your throat, and I ain't feeling sorry for ya. Governor Cocksucker, Governor Cocksucker.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess when you roll around in the mud, you get dirty, Right? Is that the way it goes? Let's. But I appreciate the effort and. There we go. Oh, all right. Oh, boy. Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Andy Kindler. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. God. Folks, it's a casual Friday, but is there anything really less casual than getting to having so much anticipation and so much excitement and so much just anticipatory excitement when you think about the idea of listening to this theme song and then knowing what comes next.
With a Jew like Andy Kindler, you know you can't go wrong. His ancestors wrote the God Bless America song. A true Obama bot, and he believes Obama can never be wrong. Yeah, Andy Kindler.com. You made me laugh so hard, I had to write you your theme song, Andy Kindler.
Andy Kindler. Hello,
Oh, it
Andy.
makes me cry. Makes me cry every time.
Ah, I'm so glad you're here. It is.
You sound like Howard Cosell today, I just realized.
I do?
And who better than Andy Kindler to bring the show home? Hey, I'm doing a Howard Cosell. Call Frank Caliendo.
Well, I mean, it's apropos because we've gotten in such a habit of talking about Dennis Miller, that citing Howard Cosell is really very Dennis Milleran in a way.
Too recent.
I was going to say the only downside is we don't know the names of famous sportscasters from the 1930s. That's the
Bruno Sammartino is or something like that.
Well, he was a wrestler, wasn't he?
I know. I was just trying. I'm trying. I'm not good at this.
Andy, what? Well, before we get on to Dennis Miller, what have you been doing? What's the latest Twitter fight that you've been getting into? Are things between you and Ricky Gervais, have they calmed down, or
will you stop calling him Gervais?
What's his name?
It can't be Gervais. It's Gervais. Isn't it Gervais, everybody? I love that you won't call him by his name.
His name is Gervais.
It's Gervais.
I don't know.
I think you'll find it's Gervais.
I think you'll find that it's Gervais.
No, it is really almost, I don't know what you call it. It's like he first of all, he's like a bully from the old school, you know? Just my troll wants me to mention his name, but I won't. That kind of stuff. He tweets, I tweet about him, and then he retweets things he said about me earlier that day without mentioning me. I don't even understand. How does he win by not mentioning me? What happened? He does nothing but talk about me, but he doesn't say my name. What is that? It's like, am I God?
Yeah. Well, nobody's to take your name in vain, and my understanding is that there's a lot of there's a lot of Twitter apps that if you use those Twitter apps, it will cut out your name. Where did Michael go? Did Michael feel sick? Michael literally just... All right, he just said, tell Andy I say hi and I miss him. Like I just looked up and Michael was...
He told me he's quitting.
I don't think he feels well.
Bye.
He doesn't feel well. How do you know he doesn't feel well?
Wait, I owe him a call. Is it because I owe him a call?
Probably.
Maybe that's what it is.
He's probably a little bit hurt.
He doesn't really feel well.
He's probably hurt a little bit by you.
Physically?
Is it the buffet that you have at the majority? Do you still have crudité in the morning? Because I love it.
Well, the problem is we still have the exact same crudité from the last time you saw it. So it's a little bit on the it's a little long in the tooth, as it were, which of course you don't say about vegetables. Now, Andy,
this is a whole area we've never discovered.
No.
I wouldn't say that about vegetables.
Well, wait a second. Now, with this whole Ricky Gervais thing,
yeah.
So he refuses to say your name. What does he think, that you're doing this for publicity? Like, why do you, like, I know why I get in fights like this. Why do you get in fights out of it? Like, do you get like some type of rush or, I mean, you're a bit of a teetotaler, aren't you?
What does that mean? I'm a teetotaler.
Well, I mean, it means like maybe this is how you get your rush. Like you don't.
No, I smoke pot.
Oh,
I smoke pot while I'm tweeting him.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
No, okay. If you look at it one way, if you looked at it from the outside, you go, as many family members are doing, tell Andy, like my mother, hey, Andy, maybe you should back off on Hitler. Hey, Andy, maybe you should stop talking about Ricky Gervais. It looks from the outside, some people think I'm obsessed with it. From my point of view, yeah, I have problems on Twitter. You could see my problem. You could see my OCD from a mile away on Twitter, but you can't get out of the way. But hello. No, but the thing is that he's hello. No, the thing is that he is constantly saying these things that have to be mocked. Like the other night, he goes, I think the crowd tonight in Manchester was even better than the crowd last night in Devonshire. I don't know. They're both amazing crowds. And he's a maniac. He's a nutcase who bragged. He goes, this joke I'm coming up with now is so offensive. Have you seen the presidential poll he does? He goes, who's the greatest president? Lincoln, Hitler, or Pol Pot? Did I offend you? That's what he's like. Now, also people think I tweet all the time. Sometimes I'll let 20, 30 minutes go in between tweets.
I mean, I don't think the thing is that people assume that they project upon their own sort of like daily schedule onto you, and so it looks like you're obsessed. But I know that from back in the days where I was a comedian, where you would just your whole day is basically just doing stuff like that. I mean, I
have no job. Well, why isn't he busier than me? He's always claiming about how rich he is and his world tour. How does he have time, Ricky Gervais, to look at he knows every single time I've referenced him, because he started going after my wife about a month ago, just out of the blue. And now I said, why would someone go after my wife? And now he keeps going back. Oh, I wonder if his poor wife's asleep.
Wait, why is he? What is he saying about your wife?
He goes, oh, his wife. He stays up to 5 a.m. in the morning to tweet while his poor wife tries. That was the first one. While my poor wife tries to get sleep.
So
I don't even know.
So maybe he's basically trying to drive a wedge between you and your wife.
Has he been talking to her?
Now, how long have you been married?
He's insane.
Andy? How long have you been married?
I've been married since 2002. You do the math.
Okay, so 15 some odd years. Has she figured this out about you, that you're a little bit like this, like a little critical of some people?
Oh, no, I'm medicated now. In fact, this year at Montreal, I will be apologizing for all of the jokes I said before I had Prozac. Look, when I said who died and made Jim Belushi a star, that's not me. That's not me.
Oh, did I tell you this story?
That's not the best part of me.
Wait a second. Did I? You know my Jim Belushi stories, right?
I don't know. Do we?
I was.
Oh, wait. You were on his.
Yes.
Did you tank his sitcom on purpose?
Well, I didn't tank it. I don't like to say I did that, because then it makes people feel like I'm afraid of my own success. But I will say this, that I sort of did a little bit of Jackie Mason, which I felt would not be consistent with the show over the course of the pilot. And
so you wrote Yiddish, and you went even further Yiddish.
Yes.
You brought no British into it.
I played. It was. They wrote British, and I went full on playing Yiddish, and I did bet Benjamin a meal that I would get fired from the pilot, and that happened. But I wouldn't say.
When I think of what the show would have been like if you had stayed, Sam.
Yes, but I do. There was one moment, which I don't know if I've ever really talked about on air, but there was one scene where we're all sitting around the family dinner table. And Jim, of course, is at the head of the table, and Courtney Thorne-Smith is to his right. She was his wife, and I think her name was Kimberly Williams, was the sister, and I was the brother. And of course, I fit right in with Kimberly Williams and Courtney Thorne-Smith in that family, as you can tell. And so during rehearsal, Jim starts like banging his fork as he's eating, like making his fork really loud as he's going down and getting the salad. Like bang, 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 bang. And that was his, like, this is the bit I'm going to do during the thing. Bang, 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 bang. And then it came out like that John always used to do it. And I just was like, oh. God. Do I really have to?
That actually makes me cry.
Honestly, doesn't it? It's like
that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
You're stealing
what is
your
the
brother's.
I know.
You're stealing from a genius so that you can somehow get a half a laugh on a crappy ABC sitcom. Like, oh.
Now refresh my memory on the famous John Belushi fork.
It was.
Thing.
It was just no. I mean, it was just something apparently he did at home. That John used to do when they were, kids growing up.
Wait, why aren't you allowed to steal from that, like source material?
But it's another comedian, and you're stealing from.
But it's your brother.
Well, I think
That's
the
true.
fact is that Jim is sitting in that seat.
Keep it in the script, I say.
Jim is sitting at that table because of his brother, not. It's not quite the same as like.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but if my sister has clothes that I like, I just take them.
Right, because that's the
Wow,
difference
that
between
is,
being a
exactly-
consumer and an artist.
That's exactly the same, too. What a metaphor.
Right. But the
Why
best
am I
thing,
so mean,
this is
Andy?
actually more equivalent
I'm
to
mean
like this is
today.
more equivalent. This is more Kelly. This is more equivalent to. Sweet, my sister died, so I get to wear her shirt. That's what it's more like. I finally get that. For all those many years, I wanted to wear
That was a great episode.
I wanted to wear that blouse, and finally she died, and I got to wear it. Yay! That's
I
sort of
would
what
have
the
loved that
quality was.
episode of According to Jim.
All right, now, but Andy, what else have you been doing? It's not just Ricky Gervais, I assume.
I have my own I have a podcast now.
Oh
with my
yeah,
friend
how's that
Josh,
going?
With my friend Josh Elvis Weinstein. It's called Thought Spiral, and everyone involved with it is talking about it.
Both you guys?
Yeah, and now we have a chat. There's no guests, it's just a chat where you get to see the inner workings of our brains and all of the. I mean, it's how long was I out for? No, seriously.
And which way does
I've
it
done
spiral?
9 episodes,
Up or down?
Sam. 9.
9. And how's the response been?
We had over 3 downloads yesterday, but it's the same guy from different devices.
Well, that's good. I mean, multi-device, multi-platforming. You're multi-platforming, in other words.
I have 3 unique visitors. Unique visitors to the show. A guy who wears a top hat, and a lady who collects potato chips shaped like bunnies.
Oh.
Unique visitors. I pulled that joke out, Sam.
Now, where do you
pulled
record
my
it? Do
unique
you go to a
visitors.
studio, or where do you go?
You go to iTunes. You go to
No.
your
Where do
Stitcher.
you record it? Where do you record it?
Oh, at Josh Elvis Weinstein's house. Do you know Josh?
No.
He was on Mystery Science Theater 3000. He's a hilarious man.
right, okay.
He's the reason why it happened, he's 6 blocks from me. That's how it all came together.
You guys are just so close to each other. You're like, we have to do something.
I have OCD that's out of control. I can't do anything. I haven't filled out a laundry list in 2 years. But no, it's literally 6 blocks away. He has nice microphones.
What's a laundry
and it's
list?
fantastic.
What is a laundry list?
Oh, don't start with your laundry list of problems. You know, like, here's the thing. I don't like
I'm breaking
Russian
out
bleach.
all my laundry list material.
I don't like Russian OxyClean. I don't know where I'm going with this bit.
Wait,
It'd be like
why?
a laundry list
You don't like
at a
OxyClean?
meeting.
All right. So what?
I love
So
it.
what else? Anything else? Are you working?
I do like
are
OxyClean,
you
I'm
doing any
sorry.
shows? I mean, Marin's been off, so you haven't been doing any. Have you been acting at all? Where can we see you?
I got, you know what is a highlight from my career, Sam? And I'm not even joking about this. I got some fairly hefty Marin residuals. After
Really?
when I say fairly hefty, I mean one of them was $200.
Wow.
And it's off the air. I am starting to rake it in from my previous work.
I got news for you. I still get like $3 almost every quarter from Next Stop Wonderland, which was an independent film.
What was that? That's not the one with the. Is that the one about the John Holmes?
No, this was with Hope Davis, and it was a little Boston film.
Were you the Jewish neighbor next door who never gets it right?
I mean, no, I was. I think I was just like some type of like lawyer or something. But I mean, it was John Benjamin was also in it, and it was it was a little Boston movie.
I refuse to do movies, apparently.
Are you refusing to do TV these days, or what?
You know what I'm saying? Yes. I said, you know what? They haven't contacted me in a while. Do me a favor. Don't contact me.
There you
That's what
go.
I say. Hey, I did something exciting. I did a part on Portlandia, which is like my favorite show. So that is actually a positive.
Are they still doing Portlandia?
They're doing the last year, and I've loved that show since the first time I saw Carrie Brownstein and Fred Armisen in different wigs. I can't get enough of them, and I got to spend an hour with them, and I'm sure I annoyed everybody.
Just in an hour. All right. Well, speaking of,
I love that. Any joke where the premise is that I am so obnoxious that no one would want to spend time with me, because it's so true. I'm so Jewish in person. Damn.
You don't come off that way on air.
Oh, I come off very British?
he come off as very sort of Protestant-y. Andy,
hey, how about that Bill? Oh, yeah, talk to me.
What about Bill Maher?
Bill Maher, huh? Wow, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. His comeuppance.
What happened to him? I don't pay much attention.
He used the N-word.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He used the N-word. It's over for him.
Is it?
Wrap it up, Bill.
Is it over?
Well, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, I feel like you felt that way for a long time. All right, but let's speaking of someone it's over for, we have a lot of Dennis Miller stuff to get to.
Let's do it.
Here is
with Michael.
Michael, I don't know. I think he got sick.
He quit.
He quit. Apparently.
Kelly, what did you say to him, Kelly? What did you say to him?
I can't talk about it. No,
right.
I think he's sick, or he must be sick, I guess.
Well, you have a great nurse situation over at that show.
That sounds to me like he got a job interview last minute, and so he had to. He'll do the old I'm going to pretend like I'm going to be sick in the moment, and then go.
He said he's going to meet with Megan Mullally later today. I don't know what that means.
All right.
Usually there's a ramp up.
Here is
to the sickness.
That's true. But
seriously.
All right. So here is Dennis Miller, bereft because obviously, what's his face? Bill O'Reilly is gone. So he basically went on to the Fox News, I think, inter-office website and selected the next oldest guy at Fox that he could appear on television with. And it turned out to be this guy. And let's play this clip.
Police have recovered the body of an 8th victim from the River Thames. This person, no doubt, jumped into the river to escape vehicular homicide. This, as Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May takes a hard line on terrorists.
All right, hold on. Pause for a second. So
this is what they're bringing him on.
This is what's this guy's name again? Stuart Varney.
Maybe, right?
So you've got the London terror attacks, of course,
happening right as he's talking.
And who are you going to bring on? Of course, it's going to be former comedian or current comedian Dennis Miller. Go ahead, play this. It's just stunning.
Comedian Dennis Miller is with us this morning. Dennis, it looks to me
looks serious.
Like there's a mood change going on over there and here too. What say you?
Well, listen, being introduced.
Pause it for 1 second. The "What say you" is the Bill O'Reilly line, isn't it? Isn't that
what he said?
That was Bill O'Reilly's classic thing. Like, I'm going to make an assertion. What say you to what I've just said?
Is that their version of "Watch This Space"?
Exactly. All right, so here it is. What say you, Dennis Miller? You look very serious for a comedian. Here we go.
Well, listen, being introduced as a comedian in a segment like this is antithetical. I'm just a citizen of the world looking, and I'm a bit of a pragmatist. And I would say to Theresa May, you think on a Saturday night when young people are crossing one of the most known, vistas in London, the London Bridge, and 3 kids pull up in a car and start stabbing one woman 10 times. People jump into the river to get away. They go across, go into restaurants, start cutting people's throats. Do you think you have to step up now? For God's sakes. Churchill must be turning over in his grave like the rotating license plate on Bond's Aston Martin. What are you kidding me?
Wow, nice joke. Hold on, pause it. That's it. We've reached peak Dennis Miller. I'm not here as a comedian. I'm here as a student of the world. And
it's antithetical. It's antithetical to have me on now.
It's antithetical. But let me deliver the old spinning in his grave like the license plate on the Aston Martin on the Bond vehicle. Jeez.
He goes for a horrible reference at the end of his diatribe.
Where does he go from here? Did you listen to this whole thing, Andy?
It just gets worse. It just gets worse and worse.
Should we listen to another 30 seconds, or should we go?
A couple more seconds.
Let's listen.
It's depressing.
The Home Minister, I think there was 20,000 cop jobs taken away. We've gotten to the point now where the one guy's out there on the bridge fighting them with a baton. This is absolute insanity. You have to right away go get the people on the watch list and do an FDR. Now, FDR went too far when he put 120,000 Japanese Americans in an internment camp on the Upper Peninsula of California. That's way too far. But take the 3,000 people on the watch list, put them in a camp and let them earn their way out with an explanation of what their life is, what's happening right here. I mean, that's just the simple fact, Stuart.
You know, Dennis,
Pause
you're right.
Pause it for 1 second. I love it because everybody knows when you refer to do an FDR, what you're talking about is internment camps.
Hey, but don't lose the fact that he said he went too far. Went too far.
So do a half FDR, I guess. Quarter FDR it. Should we listen to this anymore? It is sort of just disturbing. Yeah, this is going to be better. All right, so that is Dennis Miller, of course, brought on to respond to the London terror attacks because, I mean, why wouldn't you? How better? What? Why? I'll tell you why, Kelly. Because people had to understand in what fashion Churchill was spinning in his grave, and of course, it's like the license plate on the Aston Martin that Bond would drive. So that's why.
He was spinning in his grave like a sundial from the Pleistocene era.
Dennis Miller's like a shut-in. It's like asking him to comment on world events I'm so confused.
Well,
his
Kelly,
facial hair does look good, though. Right, Kelly? Facial hair.
It's funny that you say...
That's the worst.
It's funny that she says Dennis Miller's a shut-in because we have video of him out on the road on the Dennis Miller, Bill O'Reilly live show.
Oh, well, for Bill O'Reilly, he'll do whatever.
This is on Long Island on June 18th, right? Is that what this is? And this is the trailer sort of they use. It's like a
you post it.
It's a highlight.
Post it on the thing.
Highlight reel. Here it is. First, we're going to hear from some concert goers, and then we're going to see. And basically, if you can imagine, the stage is a circular stage, carpeted, then with a Persian rug in the middle, him there just with a stool, and of course a music stand where he keeps his notes. Here is this clip.
A grim scene, hasn't it? Everybody's angry as hell. Dying has turned into a grim scene, hasn't it? Everybody's angry as hell. Kind of like you can just sense the tension. They've cut the seats back to like bobsled runs. You're just sitting in there. Everybody's wired for sound. I'm to the point now where I don't even fly commercial. I got this industrial power stapler gun, and I just put a twine handle on my forehead and go on UPS. And
oh my God.
Because it's grim, man. Can we make it as hard to get into our country as it is to get off your plane?
Oh, he's like a racist.
I didn't even... That was just the setup. And can we make it as hard to get into our country as it is to get off your plane when it arrives early at the gate?
Yeah, he really wanted to get that gem out there. So even though he got the laugh, the applause on can we make it harder to get into our country, he had to go back and redo that joke.
That's the highlight reel?
That's the...
Oh, my God. I've had more fun in my walk-in shower watching the water drain.
Well, wait a second. Now, Dennis Miller seemed Dennis Miller had some very low energy there, but Bill O'Reilly came out with a purple coat and purple sport coat, and he's bringing it big time. Here's his highlight clip from... and this is from, is this on the, this is the same show, but he's talking about the 2016 primary because he hadn't quite updated his material.
Okay, so the debate starts, right? And then Trump's a pretty big guy, and he's standing out there. So there's Jeb Bush, and he's the odds-on favorite. And Jeb Bush, well, Donald really has no experience, and he's, Donald is... And as Trump looks at me and goes, "You're boring." What do you say to that? No, I'm not. He is boring.
Oh my God.
When I saw that,
I wish I got reactions from nothing.
Like this. And that was it. Jeb Bush was done. Finished.
Oh God.
And then Marco Rubio, all right, who I thought was going to be the nominee. I thought it was going to be. And Marco Rubio's up there. What are you doing? And Trump looks at me and goes, "You're sweating." Little Marco sweating. You should see him backstage. The towel's full of sweat. That was the debate. That was it. And Rubio says, "You have little hands."
This is...
And Trump goes, "Yeah, well, I have something else. It's not so little." What? What is happening? What's happening to this country? Apparitions of Franklin and Jefferson and Washington going, what is happening? We fought those people for this?
I gotta say, like, I'm having the exact same reaction just watching all those people laugh at him deliver that. Like, what is happening? What has happened to this country?
It sounds like a different show that they've piped into.
Yes,
he's unbelievable. This guy is unbelievable, O'Reilly. He's just the thing is, you shouldn't learn too much about your heroes because he's saying this hilarious stuff. All I can think about is him groping a woman in the no spin zone. That's all I can think about.
No, I know. All I can think about is he should be in jail or something.
I mean, it's so hard to love him as the rebel that he was with all of these. You shouldn't. That's why it's like Picasso. It's like finding out about Picasso. You don't want to find out.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
his
this
personal life.
what happens when you fly too close to the sun, Andy.
He's just doing Trump's material from Trump's 2016 tour.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. He's doing Trump's material. And then Trump said to Marco, "You're ugly." And then Marco said, "You have really tiny fingers." And then Trump said, "You're a moron."
And then Andrew Dice Clay said, "Hickory dickory dock."
I mean, what's the country turned into?
But that's probably
What
why.
does it mean?
That's probably why Miller was so depressed sounding, because he's been going on tour and O'Reilly's been cleaning up just by basically narrating 2016.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't follow Billy.
I'm gonna bring out the really great airline stuff that killed it back in the '80s.
Hey, Billy, I think don't get the crowd too pumped up. I gotta follow you.
I wonder who follows who on that. I wonder if they switch off. No way. Dennis Miller opens, I bet. Do you think Dennis Miller opens? Probably, right? He's not the draw.
It would be the only interesting part of that show to learn. That'd be the only interesting fact to learn.
It's true.
Once you learn that, it's over. Who opens for who?
Exactly.
At least Bill's top billing.
Oh, my God. Should we do this from the... Oh, we got one more clip. This is apparently Bill O'Reilly has been doing, I don't know if he's still doing it because this is a month old now, but he immediately started to do his podcast or had been doing it. I'm not exactly sure what the status of the podcast was until he got fired, but I think, and I have a feeling like we're not going to see much more of it. But here is Dennis Miller on the Bill O'Reilly podcast talking about college campuses, your favorite topic, Andy. Here it is.
You working solo? You zipping around the country? You doing any gigs?
Oh, I go out once in a while, but I'm into denouement management now. You know my theory. This country's in odd shape.
Pause it for 1 second. Apparently, Bill O'Reilly can't figure out how to work a phone system for his podcast, but it's Dennis Miller on the other line, or Dennis Miller is calling from his bathtub.
This country's in odd shape. I don't want to perform on a college campus anymore. Obviously, that whole thing's gotten so crazy. Yes. Who needs that headache in their life? And by the way, I was watching Zuckerberg, and I thought to myself, God, this guy's just Bernie Sanders with a worse haircut. And it's like you don't want to go on a college campus. And I don't know. I'm 63 now. I'm enjoying my dotage. I'm working out a little. and I'm reading
Wow,
my
working
ass off.
out, Miller.
Yeah,
Very
I'm running,
impressive.
and I'm reading a lot, and I sit there bemused by the news. But let's face facts: this country is as polarized at 63 as I've ever seen it. You got to wonder every day if you want to get out and get in the middle of that, because it is angry and
It is,
nasty,
right.
and I think it's moving towards dangerous, to be honest. So I saw those two
I think
guys.
somebody's going to get hurt.
Andy, how much of a clamor do you think there is on college campuses for Dennis Miller?
He says, "Oh, college camp. When was nobody's calling him? There's not one college kid who can remember his name is calling Dennis Miller to come to their school.
Also, doesn't he
Unbelievable.
live in like Santa Barbara? What is he
Yeah, he lives in
scared to
Santa
go
Barbara.
out
He's rich.
to the coffee
It
shop? or
sounds to me like Dennis Miller is
Gonna get hurt?
seriously depressed. I mean,
I think you're
actually,
right.
I think he's suffering severe depression right now.
Not
and-
hard
Well,
to
I
think of
because
why.
People don't realize how great he. I thought he was pretty great back in the old days. So it's like a real kind of almost tragedy.
Are you serious?
Not really. No, he was okay with the black and white movie. Wasn't it okay?
That was the best ever. Did you people are afraid to touch everything in the porno theater.
Is that one of the bits?
Yeah, I just know that from that guy who critiqued our appearance.
Oh, that stand-up thing?
Yeah, what's that guy's name? What is that guy's name? Crazy Eddie?
Something
Who's
to that
guy?
effect.
I'm a sucker to feel bad for almost anyone. Some of the worst people
You just
in
say
the
that
world.
he's from Pittsburgh.
No, but I'm saying I don't feel bad if he's depressed. I don't care at all. Like
He's a terrible.
I have
he's a
expressed
terrible,
sympathy
terrible
for
human being.
and empathy for
Kelly
a lot of people.
will
but
defend just about anybody.
I know. I don't feel
except
bad
for Dennis Miller.
He's terrible.
Oh boy. Well,
Let me hear your Hitler defense.
There isn't.
Look, he had problems, but look, he had a lot of energy.
very tough childhood. He had a very tough childhood.
He got hurt in World War I. Have a little empathy.
You know, he didn't really want to have that mustache. It's just that he couldn't grow a full one. You know, everybody blames him, but it was just the shape of his facial hair. Andy.
Yeah, so they yeah, it's time to go, right?
It's time to go.
Get the hell out of here, right?
Oh, my God. It's so great to talk to you.
But Sam, one thing to remember, to bounce out of that thing you just played, I still think Corolla and Dennis Prager are going to the campuses for their show. So we have to watch. We have to get clips of that whenever that starts.
Prager fake you.
And they go with Ace, with Adam Carolla. Ace.
We need
And
people
they're gonna-
to send us clips of Prager and Carolla. Because I just don't know if Dennis Miller is going to do this very much longer. It sounds like, I mean, I get a little worried. I hear that.
In the podcast clip, it's also a video podcast, but Miller won't send video. So O'Reilly always makes a joke about how Dennis Miller's in his pajamas, and it's probably true, actually.
I think if he's in his pajamas, that's probably an upgrade. I think it's very possible. I think even he sounds like putting on pajamas would be too hard for him at this point.
He calls he goes, you don't want to go outside because everybody's so angry. He thinks people are angry. And I thought I had a problem with Gervais. This guy really needs some anger management, or he should see the movie Anger Management with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson.
We should do that. We should just pipe it into his house constantly. Andy Kindler, thank you so much.
I love
buddy.
you.
All right, I love you too, buddy. Bye.
I love you guys. Have a great weekend, and don't forget, Shavuos is coming up.
Is that right?
No.
Okay, bye-bye.
I love you guys.
Bye.
Take care, man.
All right, folks. And yes, another Freebie Friday is over. And we move into the fun half of the program. Oh, Matt thought he could just roll it up. Matt thought he could just...
Seems like people are just like walking out of the studio and
Yeah.
we're just watching TV and talking to Andy Kindler. Maybe the show is over.
Rex Tillerson is claiming that Donald Trump pressed Putin on election hacks. And Russia says that Trump accepted Putin's denials.
I pressed him. They denied. I accepted it.
You hacked. You tried to enter our election, state election things. No, didn't. Okay. Okay. Don't put out the P-tape, please, I beg you. No P-tape. No P-tape. All right, folks. Don't forget, you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Jointhemajorityreport.com. Go there, and you can join themajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code MAJORITY, get 10% off. And if you buy your crap from Amazon or jet.com, please do so via our links at majorityreportkickback.com. Oh, and just I should tell you, if you're a member and you haven't gotten the link to the behind-the-scenes video, we had a lot of people. I don't know if the email went into their spam account, but we're going to send another email this afternoon. Keep an eye out from it. It's from Sam at The Majority Report. And then Monday or Tuesday, we'll figure out a way of putting it on the site so members only can see it. All right. See you in the fun half. 646-257-3920.
All the time, she said no, 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 no. Like to speak my mind. She said no, 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 no. And I know her time's not free. She didn't waste none on me. Situation sad. She said no, 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 no. Things are looking bad. She said no, 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 no. And if it was up to me, I'd tell her a thing or three. Every time I see her look my way, I don't know, girl, what to say. Situation sad. She said no, 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 no. Things are looking bad. She said no, 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 no. And if it was up to me, I'd tell her a thing or three. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Fun half of the Majority Report. The number is 646-257-3920, 646-257-3920. Maybe you've seen this clip, maybe you haven't. This is pretty stunning stupidity by the guy who is in charge of our nuclear arsenal. Rick Perry was asked a question about coal. And, you know, how is it that the administration intends to bring coal back? Here is Rick Perry explaining economic theory to all of us. And it's, wow.
How does this administration hope at all to be able to control market forces? Shale gas is a third to a half.
So here's a little economics lesson. That supply and demand. You put the supply out there, and the demand will follow that.
Okay, that's not in any economic theory I've ever heard.
Just like Milton Friedman said.
But here's the thing, okay? So he's arguing if you produce more coal, the demand for coal will go up. Now, this is obviously unorthodox perspective on economics, but I want you to contemplate this because it's not very much different from what mainstream Republican perspective is. Because when they talk about tax cuts for businesses, it's really the same theory. Because they're saying if we give tax cuts to businesses, they're going to be able to spend more to make more of their product. They're going to be able to hire more people, which is basically a means of production, right? Labor, very important part of production. They're going to be able to hire more people. And then, of course, there'll be demand will show up and buy what these more people are making or serving. I mean, in some ways, Rick Perry has done everyone a favor for really making it clear just how ridiculous the idea of tax cuts as a fuel for growing business is. What creates, or I should say, supply follows an increase in demand. Demand does not follow an increase in supply, unless, of course, I guess, the idea is, well, if we keep making coal, to sell it, we'll have to make it super, super cheap, and we could undercut even shale gas, which is cheaper. But then, of course, if we had to go that cheap, it would be too expensive to pull it out of the ground relative to what we could get for it. And that wouldn't work. I think Rick Perry may have to go back to the drawing board. Let's go to the phones. You're calling from a 720 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
If it's me, it's Bertolt Mecht, calling from Denver, Colorado.
Bertolt Mecht, calling from Denver, Colorado. It apparently is you.
Not a lot of 720 here. How's it going and all that? But, damn, I'm calling because of a comment I made on the old IM system about a week ago, and then you took one route on it and kind of ignored the other.
Okay.
Basically, this was about your guest who was talked about the Koch's kind of long-form coup on democratic process in general. And I kind of posed the question of at what point do we cross a threshold where our government really isn't providing the functions of government anymore in the modern context? And I put in some stuff there about rebelling and a joke about the River North Pottery Collective. And he chose to look at the feasibility of armed rebellion. Not what I was trying to get at.
Oh, okay.
The basic question I'm wondering, not really feasible, as you astutely pointed out.
At what point do we get past where there's no salvaging it? Is that basically the question?
At what point do we pass a threshold where we can say that our government isn't even really doing the basic functions of government in the modern context? Like, at least for me personally, it was the moment I was born to a Canadian dad and an American mother, and I shook my head around looking and wondering why we don't have single-payer healthcare, right? I guess we all have our own personal thresholds, but that to me seems like a pretty big, bright red line that we're not even really a functioning republic anymore.
Well, I mean, I guess it, I guess then it just becomes
especially the balanced budget thing.
I mean, it becomes a threshold, right? I mean, it depends on where you start the baseline. I don't have a Canadian parent, so I was not aware of it, when I was born, that Canada has a better healthcare system. I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. Because I disagree with people on the right, but there's some on the right who think that it shouldn't function at all, except for basically to have a standing army. I mean, I think measuring it against the only way to answer that question, right, is to measure it against where it's been at its most effective. And I think we are getting closer to that threshold. Because the idea is, right, can you come back? Do you hit a point where things are past a point of no return? And I don't know if you can answer that question without it being in hindsight. So
I think that we can actually, to a certain extent. My big fear is the balanced budget amendment. Like literally past that point, there was a really fascinating, like we have a bad law in Colorado, Tabor, doesn't allow us to, or our state legislature to raise taxes that goes back to the citizens for a popular plebiscite. And there was actually a lawsuit against this part of our Constitution that it didn't guarantee us a Republican form of government, which it was pretty fascinating. Thank you, Neil Gorsuch, for being the judge that voted that down when you were still here in Colorado on the 3-judge panel. But I mean, literally on that basis alone, a balanced budget amendment would almost bar us from having a lot of what we consider to be the basic tenets of a representative republic.
I think there's a pretty good argument there. I mean, I think it would be disastrous, and it's sort of it's even hard to sort of conceive of what would happen in that instance. But
close.
I think from a structural standpoint, if we were to get to a balanced budget amendment, I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? I mean, that's why you have like the Koch brothers pushing that, because it would fundamentally cripple, government as functioning in the way that I think most Americans perceive the way it should function.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Anyway, y'all have a good one.
You too. Call back when that happens, and we can just roll up the show.
Yeah, no, come up to the River North Pottery Collective. We'll be arming ourselves at that point.
All right, I will do that. I'm gonna get my spinning wheel out and see what I can do in there. Oh, this is good. I mean, someone on Twitter said, your lack of talking about Joy Reid is why I'm going to quit my membership. And I thought that is a very weird standard to have for a show. But with that said, Ali Velshi, who, largely speaking, I think I wouldn't agree with a lot of his other positions, I have a feeling. But because he's Canadian, like our prior caller, he realizes that our healthcare system is ridiculous, and universal healthcare is possible in this country. And here he makes that argument.
People want, but is almost certainly not on the table, is insurance for everyone, no matter who. For fact's sake, I take a look at how universal health care is possible, and we're not just talking single payer. 58 countries around the globe have universal health care systems, and 34 of 35 developed countries in the world offer some form of universal coverage. All of them except for one, the United States. Here's how universal systems work. There's a mandate that every person must have insurance that covers basic health services. That pools the financial risk of health coverage across the entire population, which brings down costs for all. On average, spending per person on medical care is 60% lower in developed countries with universal systems than it is in the United States. The insurance is paid for through some combination of premiums and taxes. Those payments help subsidize coverage for the people who can't afford it. Now, that's very different from the current American health system, where thousands of different parties, private, some public, and some individual, chip in a bit, while millions of people still go without insurance because it's too costly. Calls for a universal system in the United States go back decades, but all attempts so far have failed. Still, new polling by Pew suggests that 60% of Americans think the federal government should be responsible for guaranteeing health care for all. Critics of universal health systems point to higher taxes and longer wait times for doctors because they often prioritize urgent cases. But the U.S. can have long waits, too, more often than not because insurance companies are trying to save money. Meanwhile, health premiums continue to rise. No health system is perfect, but one that gives coverage to all may still have its day.
Yeah, I mean, he fudges around a little bit with universal and single payer. And fudges around a little bit with what Americans want. But the basic point is there, and I think it's helpful for people to sort of broadly begin to accept the idea that healthcare should be more or less, I mean, really, basically a right for everyone. Now, I think where he gets that wrong is that part of the problem is premium control, but a big part of the problem is the cost of medicine in this country. And the benefit of having a single payer system, or a primarily single payer system, you know, where you have ancillary private care if people want to get additional insurance, is that you have essentially one buyer who can determine the efficacy of treatments in certain situations and who can drive down the cost of medicine. Then also, I think you'd have to crack down on pharmaceuticals as well, not just purchasing them. But I interviewed a guy on Ring of Fire the other day who was talking about the name of the drug escapes me, but it's basically 2 over-the-counter drugs combined, and then with an exorbitant cost that they then push as a prescription drug. And doctors are, you know, oh, this is a new drug.
Innovation.
And they prescribe it. And the insurance companies pick up a big chunk of the tab because it takes them a long time to catch up to this stuff. Meanwhile, Mike Pence touring the Orion clean room at the NASA Kennedy Space Center. Apparently, is this true? Is this real? Is this a real picture?
I mean, a whole bunch of people are running with it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is real. I think this picture is fake.
Who cares? Let's show it anyway.
I mean, here's the picture. He is putting his hand on a piece of equipment that has a sign that says critical space flight hardware, do not touch. I think that's a fake. Reuters? Oh my God. Is that real?
Why would you just tape that sign there, though?
Yeah, it
It's like,
seems a
that's
little
what
awkward.
Seems weird.
Red Huber of the AP that is credited with that photo. So.
Yeah, I don't know who Red Huber is, but it sounds like they may have done some photo. That is, if that is true, a real picture, that guy
USA
is,
Today is running with it.
Wow. Mike Pence.
No, I guess maybe you would make a sign like that if you were going to let people into an area where you normally would
A whole bunch
never
of
let
media
anyone.
I guess, yes. And then why would you not notice that sign that was literally 2
you're
inches above your...
dumb as a brick.
Well, you can see the dude like grabbing his arm there, saying maybe don't grab that.
Yeah.
There's Rubio. He's like, go ahead, touch
Mike,
that there. See
Listen
what
to
it's
me.
like.
Do something stupid. I could use it. I could use the comparison. Do something stupid, okay?
Yeah, there are multiple angles of this from both Reuters and the AP, so that's a genuine picture.
Jesus. Man. 25th Amendment. Can you use that twice? Is there a 50th Amendment? What happens if you get both of them out? No. I'm joking. Paul Ryan. Yeah, Paul Ryan would be 3.
That's like worst case scenario.
Gonna need a lot of 25th Amendments.
We need 125 amendments.
Maybe I feel like Paul Ryan, this is off topic, some of his powers might be taken away if somehow, and I'm not wishing for this, but if his face got all busted up, people would trust him less and find like.
What are you talking about?
Because he's just.
So attractive?
He's an attractive, young, he seems like vivacious,
Kelly?
and it's so.
TMI.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm making you guys uncomfortable. I'm so
vivacious
sorry.
Paul Ryan?
I'm saying that as the face of the Republican Party, that's why it just glosses over so many things, like the fact that he's like an evil devil. And people just like people that support him they like that face on their party.
Oh, whatever you say, Kelly.
Oh, you don't make a joke like I'm like have the hots for Paul Ryan.
He's vivacious.
Just vivacious.
I'm just saying, most of them are old and gross.
Okay, and he's not.
He's the face of the
super
party.
attractive.
That's what. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, I know what the funny picture is because it is a hilarious
this the
picture.
lifting the weight?
Yeah, of course.
Somebody cut that. No. Oh, there's a picture of Mike Pence touching Donald Trump's buttocks. Neff Hart. Hey, guys. Illinois is getting budget, but I'm confused on what the 32% income tax hike means. I don't think it's going to school funding for one thing. Also, is the tax hike for upper middle class and rich people, or does it affect low-income folks? Some of my job worried. First off, the 32% income tax hike is misleading. The tax hike is, my understanding, for people who make, I think, over $200,000. I'm not sure about where the baseline is, but the tax is going from 3.2%, this is off the top of my head, but to essentially 5%, which is a 32% increase in that specific tax, but it's not 32 percentage points. It's a 1.5 increase in taxes on the wealthy. I don't know why it's reported that way, but maybe it's to make it seem more dramatic. Pataki on the attacky. Reminder, tickets for the Formula race, Brooklyn, the 15th and 16th are on sale. I went to the race. Yes, I can't go. I told you that yesterday. Chicago Don, it's odd. It's odd. Jimmy can write a song like that and use your exact same argument about the lesser of two evils in the last main election, but argues so strongly in favor of a candidate with a 0% chance in the last election. It is odd. I don't remember if it was funny enough for the show, but Dennis Miller interviewed a guy who wrote a recent James Bond book, and they agreed PC culture would destroy Bond now. Matt, pick a letter. Now, that money being speech is the law of the land for the foreseeable future due to the illegitimate Gorsuch majority on Supreme Court. Is your feeling about a related constitutional amendment change, specifically an amendment which would clarify that money is not a constitutionally protected form of expression and that corporations are not people? Well, I'm in favor of a constitutional amendment. But I am not in favor of the process in which we would get there, the Constitutional Convention. And I think, part of the reason is, I keep reading piece after piece that basically says the Kochs are pushing for this. There's a lot of right-wing organizations that are pushing for this. And I am not convinced. In fact, this came up with that interview with that we had she had written the book, I don't know, it was last week. I can't remember now. That the Koch brothers have the apparatus and the money to, McLean mentioned this, to run roughshod over this. In fact, a couple of states have gone back and made resolutions essentially ending their call for a constitutional convention because they're afraid of what might happen. But yes, broadly speaking, I'm in favor of an amendment like that. It's the process I'm a little bit leery of. Be silly. If Melissa McCarthy can play Sean Spicer, can we please have Richard Kind play Sarah Huckabee? Oh, that would be funny. Thames Darwin, would you stop with the Hollywood stories? I don't know what's worse. You and your sad could-have-been someone anecdotes, or Kelly's amusing anecdotes about her dog, or Matt's pseudo-erudite interjections on what he's reading. If it weren't for Michael's impressions, I'd swear I'd stop downloading this podcast for free. Secret identity politics. Sounds like the D-man has been overserved like a tennis ball coming from Martina Navratilovan's racket. She's a lesbian, ba-da-da. Also, Paul Ryan looks like a 16-year-old lacrosse player. Maybe the unnecessary quotes around do not touch made Pence think the sign was ironic.
Jay Chavon said that's the only forbidden touch that Pence has allowed himself.
Cuck Todd, Sunday, Meet the Press. We discuss communism. My take, from each according to his vicinity to each according to my wife's needs. Sam de Minimis, liberals aligned with the sleazeball Clinton deep state faction of the ruling class want you to believe that when they say Russia, with a GDP smaller than the states of California, Texas, and New York, and a military budget 1/8 the size of the U.S., and I'm not even counting the rest of NATO, is the number one threat to global freedom and democracy, not the serial destroyer of nations, the wealthiest, powerful militarized forces in history, i.e. U.S. NATO. No, no, no. La Poupée style. Chris Lapaco, did you hear about Trump having a hard time finding a hotel room for the G20 summit? All the hotels were bought out by other world leaders, so he had to do an Airbnb and rent a house. Furthermore, according to anonymous sources, the hotels weren't actually sold out, but they wanted Trump to put down a deposit or a tarp for the bed. Left is fucking best. Watch your fucking back. Chris Burdick, wonder if O'Reilly's next book will be killing comedy. Nathan Ray, hi team, Netflix selection. Okja, it's a film about a girl from Korea and a giant super pig who she's grown up with traveling to America. Not a kid's film, starring Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal, written by John Ronson. Highly recommended. Interesting. Giz Garsley, why is progressive darling Senator Warner joining warmongering ghouls and big boosters of Nazis in Ukraine, McCain and Graham, in supporting escalation of war in Afghanistan? Please help me not explode all over myself. I mean, look, the fact is, we never really knew much of Elizabeth Warren's foreign policy. To the extent we did, this seems relatively consistent with it. And I think, like, this is sadly what Democrats do to make them feel like they can push, let's say, a progressive economic agenda, but need to provide for this sense of grounded, adult, in quotations, foreign policy.
Corbyn's doing it with regards to policing in the UK right now, and the austerity. That's kind of a similar type of thing, right?
Yes. He's tying it at least into austerity on some level, but yes. A square. Oh my God, Sam, saw that Hayes clip and thought the same thing about Baldwin not throwing Johnson under the bus. Also thought she was odd. She kept saying her constituents wanted bipartisanship. What was that about? I don't know. I mean, maybe she thinks that in Wisconsin. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe Democrats are so toxic there. I don't know, but I was really struck by it. Purple-headed warrior. In his Poland speech, Trump and his derangement and complete incoherence, promoted as laudable for decades by the establishment media, doesn't see terrorists, immigrants, or filthy Arabs as the main threat anymore. He sees armies of bureaucrats marching to destroy our bonds of culture, faith, and religion. Did you hear that or read that? Red tape takes on a level of the menace that Reaganites can only dream of. I didn't hear that, no. E. Greg, can you say Greece should be able to print its own money, but not Illinois? Can you explain your logic? I am consistent. I think both should be able to. Because I don't think that we would have I think having 50 sovereign states with different currencies and then presumably different regulations and whatnot would be highly problematic. For instance, I've got to go to Worcester a lot recently. My father has been ill. He is doing better now. and he's finally back at home. But if I had to change money every time I crossed the border from New York into Massachusetts, and then presumably, who knows, maybe they would be driving on a different side of the road. Maybe only jetpacks would be allowed at the border, and I'd have to switch out of my car into a jetpack. Seriously? And I didn't say that Greece should necessarily be able to print its own money. Although I think maybe it's, at this point, would have been a better situation for them. But the reason why they had problems was because they did not have control over their own currency. Illinois doesn't have problems because they don't have control over their own currency. They have problems because they keep cutting taxes for wealthy people. And they need maybe more support from the federal government. Where do you actually stand in your status aspirations? You always said you want more government. Do you ever follow through to the logical conclusions? A world government would be even bigger and therefore less susceptible to corruption than the U.S. Why not try to at least join all North and South America into one federation? I'm not necessarily convinced that's a bad idea. But I really do think that we've got to get to the point where we have a robust federal government in this country before I would attempt to do something like that. Maybe take away the ability to of the U.S. to print their own money and instead have America bucks. Oh, you're saying well, I think it would still probably advantage America in a situation where let's say we're, I don't know, to be in some type of grand NAFTA highway with Mexico and Canada. But I think the process would have to be more where you would have to somehow fund Mexico enough so that they could raise their labor and environmental regulations. But honestly, Greg, this is like, these thought projects are silly. I don't want just more government. I want government to do specific things. It is you who has the problem with adhering to a certain religion and then having to conform your ideas to be consistent with that religion of whatever, denomination of libertarian that you are. I don't have that problem. Informationer. Matt, how come you never plug your podcast? After hearing the Nixon tape intro the day Sam was running late, I put 2 and 2 together and tracked it down. It took me several minutes of internet searching. Informationer. I've said it. It's entertaining. Everyone should check it out as long as it doesn't interfere with their MR homework. Illinois' tax increase is flat. We're not allowed to have progressive income taxation by Constitution here. You're right about that 32% increase. That was Rayner's spin to make it sound much bigger than it is.
I mean, I just don't update it terribly often, so I don't want to send people to it. But it's called Information.
It's not like it's not evergreen. I mean, it's tapes from 40 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah, but how many episodes? Do you put new episodes up?
I did one in the past month or so, but usually I've only done like 1 or 2 every couple months.
He works on it a lot and then doesn't publish it.
Well, I got a SoundCloud too.
In the sticks, my son will be getting a degree in MIS, cybersecurity, in May. He's distressed about the hacking of the nuclear plants. He fears electrical grid hacking by winter. This is not a drill, y'all. The only thing I could say is I didn't push that story today. I'm still trying to read up on it. Marcy Wheeler seems a little skeptical about the whole thing. But it's not just hacking, which is a concern about our grid. I mean, the idea of a quarter of the country going dark for a week doesn't seem to be too far-fetched. Umar Shami, Sam, in the likely event Democrats can ever counter Russian tampering, sophisticated gerrymandering, voter disenfranchisement, outright voting machine tampering to retake control of government, are they maintaining a list of all the bad stuff Republicans are doing so a rollback program can immediately be enacted? Well, I mean, the reality is that a lot of these things can't be reversed easily, particularly if they're done through the CRA. Is it the CRA? That was a law that basically allowed executive actions and regulatory changes to be rolled back by Congress within 6 months. And if they do roll it back, then it cannot be reinstated except for like a 2/3 vote of Congress or something. It really is a bad situation. Majority Report Zach, the NIMBY left, says exactly the same thing about housing as Rick Perry said about coal. Hopefully you can find a YIMBY on to talk about housing supply and its relation to housing projects. Sent you a few emails a while back, which weren't responded to. Oh, you're not the only one, buddy. I'm way behind. Joe Perry, sounds like cousin Rick Perry, studied at Father Guido Sarducci's 5-Minute University. Hesper Vilsolmi, new character proposal, Saboteur Kelly, wherein she constantly tries to poison Michael so he has to take sick days. Epish, 1982. How many more months before Rick Perry calls microeconomics Jewish pseudoscience? Contagious chameleon. The supply-creating demand theory exists somewhere in the Austrian school of fantastical church of market fundamentalism. Teacher BB. Increased supply will lead to an increase in the quantity demanded due to the lower price. The real problem is the market ignores social costs and underprices fossil fuels. Aaron J. But my point is that can that lower price sustain the increase in supply? Have you read about the Redistricting and Voter Protection Act of 2017 introduced? This is a legit solution we can pass if we win Congress. I will look into it. Joe Link. Paul Ryan attractive? Looks like a member of the Addams family. He's gross. Greta Van Susteren wants to be new U.S. ambassador to Ireland after MSNBC firing. Said wouldn't say no to a Trump appointment. Big push by police professionals for intelligence-led policing will leave the Trump Justice Department behind. Police reform becoming a reality in Houston. Oh, good. All right, let's go. I got time for one call. You're calling from a 678 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Jordan calling from Portland.
Jordan, what's on your mind?
Oh, I was just calling in to give Kelly some support. Paul Ryan is pretty attractive. He's got those steely blue eyes. It's like I definitely see where she's coming from.
I know. They're dreamy. It's how the devil gets away with so much.
That's what I mean, yeah. It's just the eyes. When you see him talk, yeah, if you can just imagine like an acid attack of some kind, he would lose so much support immediately.
That's what I was saying. I'm not encouraging acid attack or anyone punching his face
think that
in,
would
mashing it into like
I think
gravel.
disfigurement would rebound into his favor, actually. If
Don't you think it would help
practically.
him at
Yeah,
that
he'd be a
point?
martyr.
Nope. It
right.
wouldn't work.
Martyr.
It wouldn't work. People wouldn't
Phantom of
like
the
him. I'm
Opera.
sorry. I'm sorry, they would not.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
'Cause, yeah, I just think about the whole, he ran with Mitt Romney, and they were like the team of like the Silver Foxes.
I want to make it clear, absolutely clear, that we do not advocate anything of the sort.
I made it clear.
Oh, neither do I.
Okay.
I wouldn't advocate anything like that. I'd be horrified.
Appreciate the call.
Uh-huh.
All right. We're going to take a couple IMs, then we're going to get going, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be doing the show from an undisclosed location next week. Kelly is also going to an undisclosed location.
I'm going to an undisclosed location and for the whole week. So everyone who is going to say that I'm either in the hall or that I quit or got fired, I didn't.
Sam, I am. Demand sometimes does follow supply, unfortunately. It's called induced demand. When you make highways wider, more cars clog the road. When it comes to humans, it's called the Malthusian trap. When people figure out how to make food and energy cheaper, guess what? People have more children. It goes right back to the original price. Some believe we have been able to stave off the Malthusian trap since the 50s, but global warming, overfishing, and other externalities can come back to bite us in the ass. Look at the population graph and ask yourself, if it was a stock, would you short it? And what does it mean, sir? What does it mean translated to humans? Ew. Louis. So if a company produces 10 times the dildos normally allotted per year, the demand increases 10 times. Rick Perry, Econ Logic. Wu-Tang Clan. Sam, I'm totally...
You guys think stuff like that is funny, but you think that I'm super weird and gross for saying Paul Ryan's attractive?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Wu-Tang Clan. Sam, I'm totally flaking on remembering the truth bomb you dropped on Bob Woodward that pissed off Carl Bernstein. What was it you said? I was introducing a staged reading of All the President's Men. And I got up there and I said, Carl Bernstein was here, and introducing Carl Bernstein, I said, it's fitting Bob Woodward's not here tonight, because in many respects, the Bob Woodward who participated in this no longer exists. Now he's holding back material for as a reporter for a book that he's going to do at a time where it becomes a lot less relevant to what's going on. And so all the actors came up. There was a bunch of big actors in it. I can't remember who they were. And but Carl Bernstein was reading one of the roles. And they started into the reading of the play, of the movie. One guy did his line. There may even be video of this, or I just have it so deeply imprinted in my head. I was sitting at a table with Nikki, like there's all these dinner tables. And Carl Bernstein, when it came to his line, he said, I have to stop here and contradict or reprimand what that man who did the intro said. He's an idiot, blah, blah. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think if you Google it, you can find the story on the Post. I remember the Post did a story about it, and everybody was looking at it. I mean, it was pretty. I enjoyed it, probably too much. Sven, what's the best way to call the show from overseas without running up a huge phone bill? Unfortunately, we can't take IMs anymore. Not IMs. We can't take Skype directly, but I would get a Skype number and call via Skype. I don't think it's too expensive. But also, if you IM at the Majority FM thing and tell us that you're on the line from overseas, we'll try and get to you if we can figure out who you are. Bend. How the new Republican reply to criticism? Basically, I won, so suck it. Chris Christie responds to criticism. That's how it goes. Trump responds to criticism. I can't be doing badly because I'm president and you're not. Run for governor and you have a residence. Do you see the parallel? I do. All right, we're going to do 5 more IMs. Matt.
B.
As in Bertold Mecht. They don't normally do this, by the way, but if you want to donate some money to a political candidate, donate to current Colorado State Senator Andy Kerr. He's running to replace Ed Perlmutter in CD7, supports single payer, and was the plaintiff in the aforementioned lawsuit against Tabor that Neil Assface Gorsuch got to shoot down. I don't work for him or anything, but a bunch of my buddies had him a history teacher, and he's a good dude. State Senator Andy Kerr in Colorado. Kelly. S. Senator Chuck Schumer. Paul Ryan is the perfect example of why one should never let their children read Ayn Rand. They'll end up as hunky sociopaths just like him. Matt.
You can't tell your children what to read.
Sure.
You should guide them about Ayn Rand, though.
Yeah, of course.
You should guide them about Ayn Rand. C.
Calvin. Alex Jones just announced a CNN meme competition with the winner getting a $20,000. That's pretty good. Kelly.
D.
Dude Guy Pal. Let me preface this by saying single payer would be great, but I think many people are confusing single payer and universal health care. Only 2 countries have true single payer, Canada and Taiwan. Some countries have a mix, including USA, with Medicare. But when people mention that the rest of the world has single payer, that's not true. I think the important thing is we need to focus on a system where the government impose cost restrictions and negotiate prices while providing coverage to everyone. Yes, single payer would be cool, but a multi-payer system, universal health care, could work great too. Can you have someone on to discussion the differences of the healthcare systems? Yeah, that would be good, I think. But yeah, we got to find someone who's good at that. I think I have a couple of ideas. John 1 Despair. There's no idea in economics that's too stupid to have given support at some time. Perry's theory is what used to be called Say's Law. Lauren. Do you have any thoughts on the Alabama special election for Sessions' seat? I don't. I'm currently volunteering for Democratic candidate Brian McGee, but I'm honestly waiting for the primaries before really getting involved. Yeah, I don't. I really don't know much about it. DX Fool. Wait, the great Larry Joe Carroll replaced Sam, and according to Jim, wow, Stephanie Miller keeps saying that Dennis Miller, no relation, even though they have home studios, peaked when Rick Overton wrote for him. That does not surprise me. All right, Matt, one more each.
P.
Politics drawn poorly. Friday film recommendation, Roar, 1981 film starring Tippi Hedren and daughter Melanie Griffith. Filmed over several years in an African game reserve, used wild untrained lions and panthers and elephants. No animals were harmed, but 70 cast and crew were injured with several injuries as part of the final cut. Cast can be heard literally screaming for help as lions maul them. Truly amazing to watch. Wow, weird. Never heard of that? No. Yeah. All right, Kelly.
P.
P. Pokemon Master. Sam is way cuter than Paul Ryan. Just saying. Thank you. I'll do 2. Kyle. Mother told me not to touch it. And the final I am of the week. Ilmic, I don't understand that guy on Twitter. Your show is already a treasure. The fact that you don't talk about Joy Ann Reid nonstop is a plus. The less I hear about her, the better. All right, folks. See you Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there.